Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Doing It Scared. We're back here at 11 a.m. in Florida for another paint project. So appreciate all of you that have come here and started to join. I have a really fun project today. You may have heard some buzz about it. It's hat painting. So actually hat burning and hat painting are really on trend right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do painting a hat. I'm not burning a hat. I really just don't want to get into the burning yet. So if by chance you take this and you want to try hat burning, make sure that you're getting like a vegan suede and you're not using a felt hat. I'm using a felt hat, and so I have not seen results that come out really well when you burn a felt hat. So for myself, like I said, I'm sticking to just painting the hat. Also, if you're on, like, if you really don't want to do a vegan and you want to stick with like something like felt, then you're going to want to just use paints, okay? So I'll give you a quick look. Hello. So this is my first practice one. This is my black hat. As you can see, I've left the back undone. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I still haven't made my mind, but this was my first attempt. I really like how it came out. It looks pretty cool. We've got some grays and taupes and whites in there. So a nice neutral palette. I may go back in and add some vines, but I don't know at this point. So we are not going to be working on this one. We will be working on this one. So I want to show you, this is I think you can see there, $7.99. This came from Hobby Lobby. They had several colors. I just chose one. So the hat itself is relatively affordable. And for myself, because I'm practicing, if for some reason I screwed this up, I would only be out the $8 hat. Once I become more fluent with it, then I may go ahead and then splurge on a nicer hat for myself. This makes a great paint party too, because everybody can kind of figure out what they want to do themselves and make it unique and customizable. For those of you that are my friends in the Nashville area, I do know, so Heidi Easley is the founder of Texas Art and Soul. She's recently relocated from Texas to Franklin, Tennessee. So I saw through some ads, because I check Franklin boards all the time because, you know, it's home. She is going to be doing a hat burning and painting party. I think it's with the Franklin Downtown Center, something like that. I'll post that on my website. I'll share it when I find it again. Anyway, they are doing, I believe, hat burning, and it's going to be in the Lainey Wilson style. I don't know. Country music, right? I don't know country music. So what we'll do now, I'm going to go ahead and get us started on this and kind of show you what I did, and then we'll start painting. So here you can see I have drawn in my flowers that I'm going to be painting in. This is just from a stencil, so I didn't freehand it, and I just used a regular pencil. Now, if you're going to be working on a dark color like black, you're going to want to get like a white chalk pencil to outline and stencil in. These lines right here, maybe I can do it better with my pointer. These lines right here are going to be some vines, and they're going to be in black. I don't need to trace each petal. I've kind of got down how I make my petals now. So let me show you. This is the front of the hat. And then in the back, I've got two flowers. So I don't know how far we'll get on this today, but we will start in the front of the hat, and I will make sure I do at least one flower and show you one of the vines up to the back. Typically, again, this is felt, so it works a little bit different than canvas. So let's go ahead and turn the camera. Boom, boom, boom. Right there. All right, so we got that lined up. I want to show you the colors I decided to use. Now, I almost went with a dark navy because I just love navies and cream colors together, but I decided to keep it pretty soft. So the colors I'm going to be using today, obviously, I'm going to have some black in there. I'm going to be using this Baby Blush. And then I've got Cotton Candy. And then I have a Vintage White. So this is not a stark white. I wanted it to kind of blend and not be like so bold. So I went with the Vintage White. We're also gonna throw in some gold metallics and possibly fawn. Now, one thing to remember is, guys, I choose my colors and I put them all here, and then sometimes I realize I don't like a color and I don't use it. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start with this flower, and I'm gonna need some gold. And I'm gonna start with that lightest color pink, I believe. Get this here. Actually, I'm gonna put both pinks on my palette and then decide. I keep doing, oh, sorry guys. My friend Kim from my training team with Royal would be like, Lori, your ums are just going on too long. I know, Kim, I'm so sorry. Okay, so here you can see there are two different colors of pink. This is called Baby Blush right here. It's a very, very light pink. And now that I'm looking at this next to my felt hat that is kind of like a cream color, I decided this is going to be a little bit too light. I'll be using that more for highlighting, but I am going to use this other pink. It's still soft, and if I put it on and the color is too dark, I can still lighten it by mixing maybe a little bit of those two together. The thing I'm going to work on first is the center of the flower, and I'll probably go ahead and do all three centers so it gives it plenty of time to dry. I'm going to be using this medium brush to do these centers, and then of course my petals. Later, I also have several liner brushes that have different widths, and I'll be using those to add details as well as for my finer lines. So let's enjoy and get started with this wonderful gold color. And I'm just gonna follow my lines. Now, one thing when I did the other, when I did it on black, okay, so y'all saw that one. Sometimes I noticed that the felt brim was soaking up a lot of the paint. So if you get some streaky color or you don't have the color you like, understand that you may need to do more than one coat. This is going on pretty darn good, so I don't think I'll need more than one coat of this gold. And I'm just gonna go up to the rim. I'm not gonna go over this side because then I have to worry about making it look good underneath. I'm not worried about underneath right now. If you are one of those people, a lot of people do go ahead and paint the underneath of the hat because you can still see it when you're wearing the hat. Let's see. I know I can't remember our seasonal dates, but if you're going to a rodeo, a concert, anything of that sort, night on the town, out for drinks with friends, this is a great accessory. Also, in my thought process when it comes to hats, it's a great way to still look fashionable and trendy when your hair is dirty and you don't want to do your hair. So I do that quite a bit. I explained to my husband when we first met that I have a 3-day hair system. And that is, first day, my hair is typically going to be completely washed and blow dried, and it looks great. The second day, I'm going to be using a flat iron or curling iron on my hair, and the third day usually ends up with a hat. So it saves my hair, reducing the amount of shampoos I do a week. But yeah, that's my trick. So if you see me with curled hair, you know it's day 2. If you see me with a hat, you know it's day 3. Ponytails like today can be any one of those 3 days, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to tell you what today is. Ponytails are essential here in Florida. It's really hot right now, and even in the house with the air conditioning going, I just really like wearing a hat to keep the hair off the back of my neck and out of my eyes. This gold is going on great. I absolutely love it. And this hat doesn't seem to be absorbing nearly as much of the paint. You can see I'm getting a good solid color. So you'll just have to test it with whatever hat you purchase and just go with the flow. I went over a little bit on that side, but that's okay. Didn't really want to do that. I will say it will take more paint than doing like a canvas because some of this is going to soak in. So, like right now, if I were working on a canvas, I would have a lot of paint left in my, what I just spent. So I'll show you guys like right here. You saw it in the beginning. Now it's like I've used about half of it. Let's see. I was just going to do the front, but because this is going so well, I'm going to go ahead because I do want all my centers to be this gold color. And I'm going to go ahead and do these two. And that will keep my gold from drying out while it's waiting for me to pay attention. So I know for a lot of people right now, kids are back to school. My kids are grown, so I don't have to worry about back to school time, but I know it's an exciting time. For a lot of my friends right now, it's a very bittersweet time. They're either mourning that they have a senior in high school or maybe their first trip to kindergarten. It is all wonderful and amazing, but of course, bittersweet. I remember sending, I homeschooled my kids to my oldest was in 7th grade, I believe. And I remember sending my girls to school the first day and just missing them so incredibly much, but knowing that they were really ready and learned so much. I can't say that so much as the high school years came on. It became a little bit more difficult because, you know, teenagers and all. So glad to be done with high school with my kids. I didn't have to worry about homework anymore. It's awesome. So there's, again, that bittersweet, you can't believe you're at that stage where your kids are adults, having in their senior year, and that senior year goes so fast. All right, and this actually is perfect. I took up the rest of my gold paint, so now I don't have any there waiting and drying. So you can see gold paint gone. All right, so now we're gonna move on to petals. I'm going to take my rag, I'm gonna wipe my brush. So I don't need to rinse this out. I do have water here, but I'm not rinsing it out at this time. So we're gonna start right here with these. You can see that some of these have little indents traced in it. That does not matter. That is going to be where I can do some highlights and stuff. So I'm just doing the same thing that I did with my gold, and I'm going to start painting in the petals. Okay. And as I'm looking at this pink is a little brighter on here than what I would like. And you can see we're not getting a clear line. That's not the paint, that's just the nature of felt. There we go. So I'm gonna wipe my brush off again, and I'm gonna do the next petal in the paler pink, just so I can see it on here. Okay, so you can see now this paler pink color. And okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just do a little there. So I'm not sure about these colors, to be honest with you. I like the dark pink, but I think I'm really gonna go with the pale pink, and then I'll use the dark pink for highlighting. So even though this is already dark pink, I will I'll show you what I'll do with that later. We're gonna let that dry because once it's dry, we can cover over it. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my main petals slowly, and I just picked up the wrong color, but we're going to go ahead. That was the bubblegum. Now I'm back to the baby blush, and maybe I will like this. Oh my gosh, I think I kind of like the way this is filling in. I'm always surprised with paint sometimes and how it blends. So I am really liking this. See what a mistake can do for you? I put a little bit of the bubblegum here, and now I'm picking up the light pink and I'm drawing it down. So I think that's going to be part of my design. So these circles filled in a lot easier. So this is going to be a lot of patience and painting. You can see lines are not super smooth. There is a trick for that. So when I get done with all my petals, if I feel like it needs more definition, I have a paint pen that I will use to define in probably like a white outline. I may use my liner brush. And it does not look like I'm going to have to do more than one coat on this. The lighter color really takes the paint better. So you can see where I had my line there. It's from the stencil. I am just going to go ahead and blend this into the gold. So again, that is more just for my benefit, but I do want my petals to touch the center. And I'm going to fill that in. Get those spots. You can smush it in there where it's not taking really heavily. Now, this was a sunflower stencil that I used. There are a lot of different flower stencils. Hibiscus stencils look really nice. All right, I like that, and I like this shading. So we're gonna go to the next one. I'm not gonna wipe off my brush. I'm gonna keep that light pink in there. And I'm gonna do the same here. I'm gonna put it in the outline like this. And then I'm, again, not wiping my brush. I'm gonna go into that light pink. And now I'm gonna do the rest by pulling it down. I really didn't expect this blending to look so nice. So I'm happy and surprised. Just like Bob Ross, right? It's a happy little accident. And it's just giving that, like, I'm getting some shading that I don't even have to think and work or worry about. So I'm loving it. Getting that petal to come back down into where my gold is meeting. Okay, that one went a little faster, so I'm going to continue to do the rest. As always, it's already 20 after, and I'm always amazed at how quickly the time goes by. By the time I get to this last petal over here, these should be pretty dry, and I'll be, and then later I will be assessing if I'm going to put another layer of petals in between what I already have. I don't think I'm going to. I think this looks good, but I may. You never know with me. I make decisions on the spot. That's why I am not a real artist, because I have no patience. The planning process, for the paint to dry. next one. Darker pink. And I'm going to go with the lighter pink. I'm going to pull this down the sides a little bit more on this one. That way will be a little bit more definition. Add some variety. We don't want to do each petal exactly the same with the color shading. We want to give some variety. This needs to be darker. Okay, that's better. Sorry, my hand's probably covering everything. I'm just filling in with the light pink, blending these two together. So on canvas, these would mix very, very easily and blend together. This, you have to put a little bit more into it. I wouldn't do anything where I'm trying to blend the color on the hat because it absorbs too much. Like, because I do that sometimes with, on a canvas because you can, because the canvas isn't porous. You can use that timing. So, take a little bit more of my darker pink right through here. Fan it in. And blend some of that. All right. I'm really liking the shading that's coming out with these. All right. So now I have this little one up here, and I'm going to do these little ones with the completely with the darker pink. I'm going to use the tip of my brush right here. There. Get a little bit wider just because of the pencil marks. Now again, you can use chalk. I just used a regular pencil to stencil. All right, now the next big one, I'm going to pull the darker color further down here. So we got our darker pink. Let's overlap that just a little more. We want to get rid of, we don't want to necessarily see, yeah, there we go, that pencil line. Not that any one person's going to particularly notice that, but in a way, painting on suede is a little easier because your paint doesn't, you have a lot more control of where the paint goes because the felt here is grabbing it. Now, if you're doing a vegan suede, it's probably going to glide on a little bit smoother because of the texture of the vegan suede. And you are welcome to use real suede. It's just, I don't spend that much money on a hat at all that I'm going to, be creating with. So. Now, I'm not bringing this one all the way down to the gold. I kind of like this. I'm going to be doing some other filling stuff momentarily. We got another small one right here. All right, and then I'm going to outline this last petal with all the way with the dark. And then fill in with the light pink. See, it's hard to tell the color on something sometimes, especially those pinks. Like I said, I love this super light pink, but I really didn't think it was going to show up that much on the hat, and I'm pleasantly surprised and very happy. So I'm going to come back here to this one. This is the first one I did with that darker pink. I'm just going to add a little bit of this lighter pink and then pick up a little dark so that I can blend it, and basically there we go. It's going to look the same as the rest. So now what I want to do is I want to fill in these areas. Okay, I don't want that to look like a stencil so much as I want it to look like a hat. I'm also going to, as you can see, some of these areas where it's a little lighter with the suede, I want to make sure I got that filled in. So I'm going to just touch here and there where it needs it. Kind of looks like an air bubble. And you can't really see some of those until it starts to dry. I'm just gonna fill in a little. All right. I'm not even gonna wipe my brush. I'm gonna leave it just like it is. And I am now gonna go with the dark pink. So I'm loading my brush up. You can see there's color all over. And I'm gonna go in between. So I'm gonna make those short little petals, and I'm just going to push and drag. Then I'm gonna pull this down so you can see that. That's all I'm doing. Again, load up. I'm gonna go ahead and flat push and drag. You can see the emptiness there, but that kind of just gives me where I'm going to place that petal. And you're probably like, well, it looks like it's all gonna just blend together. Well, you'll see. I'm gonna put a little bit there. Same here. I'm gonna add just a little bit. I'm gonna do a push and drag, and then I'm gonna do a push and drag on the other side. So this one's a little bit bigger. And you can see I'm using the darker pink. Don't worry, we are going to add, and it's going to be defined shortly. Pull and drag. Pull and drag. And being careful with that gold as well. One over here. All right, I'm going to make sure I fill these in. Don't worry, like I said, we're going to get some definition. You're kind of losing the shape of the flower, but when we go ahead and fill in, and as you guys know, I like to pretty much outline everything, this will pop. And we're going to, when we do this, we're going to be using a light color, not a black color on these. You all know I love me some black. Okay, so there is the first flower, okay? Just for some texture, I am going to take a little pink, I decided, and at the base, I'm just going to put a little dash just right in the center of each of these. I like that better. And then I'm gonna go back. As you can see, I'm kind of just blending that in there, so it's just not that dark pink. All right, now I am gonna wipe my brush, and the next color I'm going to use is going to be this vintage white. So I'm gonna be using vintage white and probably this fawn. It might, we'll see. I might be doing something else once I get the vintage white on there, but we're gonna start with that. And you can see this vintage white. It's like almost completely white. It's not far off from this lighter color, so we're keeping within the same shade palette. And I'm just gonna do the same process. I'm gonna start by outlining here. Just that off-white, which I like the color, but I do kind of like how those came out. So I am going to use some fawn. I'm going to come back to that petal. So you can see this other color. It's just a very, that's like a taupey color. Oh, this would be really pretty with like burgundy flowers too, especially for fall. All right, so I'm going to start here with this darker color to do this single petal up here. And I'm going to come back to that. Because I'm going to be, again, doing some with the fawn now. So I'm going to just go over all of that with this fawn color, using the same process we did with the two pinks. Now back in with the light. And see how pretty that starts to blend. Typically, this I like this creamy color. It kind of reminds me of those creamy white, what do you call it? Magnolias, the color itself, I mean, as well as, what is the other one that, hydrangeas. Sometimes when you have a hydrangea, I'm gonna add some white here. And I'm blending that in, looking good. And I'm just dragging it down. So I may go back and do these pink petals like that. I just added it and dragged down, and it's kind of filling in that space. So I think I'm going to copy that throughout this middle one. And then we can either touch up that, or we can do this the same. We'll figure it out. Okay. All right. So back with my dark. I'm going to outline the edges about 3/4 of the way down, leaving the center empty. I don't think I have anybody watching today, which honestly kind of makes me less scared. You're not hearing all my uhs. Okay, so now I'm going in with that lighter color. And I just keep brushing over the top to get it to blend with that shading. Again, I am not wiping my brush off between colors, and that's what's helping as well, getting some of this shading in there. It's some of the darker taupe, brown, whatever that is in the brush is loaded in there, and as you get down into the brush, it's going to start coming out onto that. All right, so that is, there we go. I'm just going to brush these on the side, soften that up, and I really think I like that. So I'm going to let that dry some and come back and see if I need to do a little more blending. move to this petal. It's another little one. I'm going to drag it down. Just like that. And I'm going to leave it that and add a little shading in the center. All right, on to the next one right here. I'm gonna, again, about 3/4 of the way down, do my edges and then enter in my lighter color. Now pick up the light color and I'm gonna start to blend it in. I'm starting down here at the bottom so it blends up. You can see the streaks that come in that with the color that's already loaded on my brush. The center filled in. Let's just blend this and soften the edges now with what paint's already on there. Next petal. Same process, start at the point, pull down to make your petal about 3/4 of the way, and then adding that vintage white. So with this, I'm liking to start when I'm doing the other color at the bottom. I'm finding it blends up and into that darker color beautifully. So I'm just going to continue working in that motion here and there. Reset. And here you can kind of see where paint is absorbing quickly, which means, again, I'm going to have to probably go just touch up some of these areas. Again, if we leave it like this, it looks unfinished and like we have air holes. I'm going to soften the outside. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that dark brown. And I'm going to try just blending. There we go. It's important to follow your brush strokes. If you change the direction, it can be noticeable and it will not give you as clean a look. I like it. All right, now we will do this one. I went all the way down with that. It's okay. I want a little bit more definition because this is the one right next to the brim. Now pick up white. I'm going to start down here and drag. Sorry if my hand's blocking, guys. Just wanted to get some of that in there real quick. so you can see there's a lot of what I call those little, what looks like air holes. So I'm going to keep blending using both colors as needed, and then it's going to, let's see. Yeah, we're going to have to come back to it because it's not going to go ahead and fully cover at this point. But there you have the petals for that one, okay? So we are at 11:41, so I'm gonna move over because I'm just gonna be doing the same with the same colors around the brim. And I'm gonna move over to where I have what's going to be little vines. So I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna use this brush, again, my medium brush, but I need some black paint. I love black and I love how it offsets. We also have a black band on the hat, so. Oops. I don't think I need to show you the black color. So this is my guide, okay? We're gonna do it two different ways. I'm gonna do the first one here, I'm gonna put the petals down first and then run the stem through. And the other one, I'm gonna run the stem through and then put the leaf petals on there because it has to do with size. So this one, these are going to be a little bit broader because I'm going to be using this brush for petals, and then I'm going to be using the other smaller one for to do a smaller petal. Now I keep saying petals, but we know what I mean are leaves, okay? So one of the things I like about making leaves with a brush like this is you literally just need to dab. Okay, so I'm just dabbing. I'm loading the brush each time. And I'm going to just dab back and forth. Down the line. So like I said, this will end up being my larger petals. Those will be a little smaller. Let's see. That doesn't mean I don't have stuff to fill in. If I was working on a canvas with this technique, these little leaves would be a little bit bigger because the canvas would allow for the brush to smush a little bit more. I got paint all over me because I spilled some. Sorry, guys. Gonna get that up before I end up with putting the black from my hand onto the brim. So there are the start of those leaves. I'm going to clean up some of these. I want them to not look so brushy. So I'm going to give little bases to them, and then I will use my liner brush to do a line connecting all of them. So just basically on those bottoms, like where I feel like I didn't get a good saturation, because I want it to be very clear, these definitions of these leaves, and that one's good. Okay. Now, what is important when you are using your liner brush is you want to make sure you have a decent tip, okay? So if you have frayed brush ends, I don't know if I have one here. So like this one, they're a little bit more frayed. Liner brushes tend to do that. This, if I'm wanting super detail work, I am not going to use that. Although when I put it in the paint, I can swirl it and make a nice tip. This one is already giving me that tip that I want, and I'm going to be working with some very delicate lines. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to start up at the top, and I'm going to follow that pencil line. That I created before and connect the leaves. I'm doing it in small bursts. This is one of the benefits of doing the stem last, because you're doing it in a lot of small, tight areas. And notice when I bring it down, if there's two leaves touching, I'm bringing that stem right into the two leaves because it should be coming through the center, right? As I am here, pulling this down, around a little bit. If you get little flyaways on your brush, you can always have a small pair of scissors, and that works great for getting those off of there. Okay, so I'm gonna clearing there, and I'm gonna clean there. So I'm liking how this is coming. So I'm going down to the bottom now, and I'm going to pull upward to get everything together. And you may be saying, what about that leaf? It's not even touching the stem. Don't worry, I'm going to fix it. It will. Now, I'm not even going to get my other brush out. I'm just going to bring this down here. It's not great, but okay. So I'm going to turn this a little bit. I don't want to get my hand in here. Oh, well, okay. All right, so I didn't like that angle. So now we have this one leaf done. We're going to go ahead and do this. Now, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the single line first, and then I'm going to go in and add the leaf petals. And these, I'm going to be using this same brush because I want them to be a lot smaller. So in very short sections, going in and getting that line in there. All right, so that was simple enough, right? All right, so now we're going to go in, and I am going to dab again. It's just, as you notice, this is a much smaller brush. So I'm letting my brush do my work pretty much. And I'm just freehanding these petals, leaves, gosh, whatever I call them, one at a time. And so I didn't like how that one turned out, but you know what? It's all good. And I will go back and forth, just like I did with the other. It's just this time using a smaller brush, and we made our stem line first. Now remember too, with your leaves, you can make some longer, some shorter. When we look in nature, it doesn't always perfectly align. There's not always symmetry. I don't like my little lines as much, so we'll see what happens when I'm done. I may go back and make them big like the other, and that is the beauty of all this. Notice as it's drying, it doesn't look as solid, but we're going to fill that in. There's going to be 2 coats. Continuing the process. There, I like that a little better. So I think I got my process down that I like with this. Those little tiny ones. Key here when I'm doing this is making sure I have plenty of paint loaded on the brush, and I'm just pressing in to the felt. I like that better. Coming out pretty nice. Womp womp. So I'm just going through, pressing in the rest of those. Letting my brush do the work. If you can see, there's a little curve on my brush. That's just from pressing. Again, making sure I have a lot of paint loaded and just pushing down onto the felt. Again, this is giving me that smaller leaf impression. And I'm not a big fan of detail work, so this is great because this is going to allow me to do this relatively quickly with not a lot to clean up. I am going to clean up through these where you see it's a little bit not as saturated, but I will probably use my Posca pen for that, because that will be a good, I'll have more control with a fine tip Posca pen than I would with this paintbrush. Just continuing the back and forth motion. And I'm gonna put one more right here. All right, I think that came out pretty good. I like it. Whoop, whoop. Let's see, we got 6 minutes. I am gonna add a little extra little one there because I felt like it needed it. So if I wanted, I could go through and add some smaller ones in between. I'm not gonna do that at this time because I don't think I want that. And again, if I wanted to make these larger, I could actually make the vine as stiff or as big as the sunflower. Okay, so you can kind of see the sunflower here is dried. We're gonna go back to that real quick, because I also want to blend some of this in there too, okay? I want that gold to be pretty, but I also don't want it to be necessarily the only thing you see. So I'm gonna take I took the darker pink. I'm going to lightly outline the outside circle of my sunflower through there. And I need more gold paint. And I'm going to, again, then I'm going to go back through with some more gold paint, blending, making this a pretty shady blend. And then, believe it or not, I've got some iridescent glitter here. So I'm going to put just a little bit, pour it on there, shake a little bit of the glitter. See that? I'm going to just use my finger, rub it in there. Because girls, who doesn't like a little bit of glitter? Now, I'm going to use a dry brush. Where did I put my other dry brush? Well, anyway, I'm going to just let that be. I'm going to add some and blend everything in now. Let's do a little bit more gold. A little bit more pink. And even a dash of this lighter pink. And again, now we've got a little bit more definition, a bit more shading, and I think it looks great. And then you've got that little bit of glitter in there. So once, again, I just really using my finger when I am pushing it in, it will dry in the paint and it's not gonna be obnoxious, okay? It's not gonna be too much. So I also wanna define some of these petals, as I mentioned to you before. So I am going to get out my, where is it? I'm looking for my white. This is my white Posco pen. It's paint. You can just see the nub and it's going to give you that color. So I am just briefly, I'm going to go on top of the colors I've already produced here. And I'm going to just let that still a little wet. So I'll have to come back to that. I'm just going to go ahead and create just a little bit of some outlines. Yep, and that's still wet. So this is not completely dry, but I wanted to show you how I'm just gonna use it and it just gives a more defined edge. Okay, so you can see how that works. Again, when I get this all done today, y'all, I'll go ahead and post in the pictures and I'll get this up to YouTube as soon as possible. I forgot to get last week's up, but that will be, I had a very busy week last week. So I will get last week's and this week's up on YouTube today. And I hope to see you again here. We are at 11:59. Thank you so much for creating with me. If you have any questions, comments, put them in the chat, send me a message through Facebook, or you can go ahead and email at passportpaintparties@gmail.com. Hope to see you again. Y'all have a great day and have a very, very happy Wednesday. Bye-bye.